Great. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to How We Built This, a Jesus Entrepreneur Network series that celebrates entrepreneurs and creatives. Today, we are speaking with David Hieatt of Hiut Denim. And David, it's a pleasure to have you with us today. As you know, Jesus College, Oxford has long ties with Wales, so it's particularly exciting for us to be connecting with Welsh entrepreneurs and brands. Just a reminder to everyone that if you have questions for David, please leave them in the chat as we go along. There's time for a Q&A at the end. There's so much that I want to ask you, David, so I think we should just probably dive right in. There's quite a lot to discuss, but welcome and thank you so much. Let's start at the beginning if we should. Let's see. Did you know at a young age that you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
Almost definitely. I was sort of entrepreneurial from the very start, and one of my schools was quite far away from the shops. So at night I would go to a wholesale, buy tip tops, and then in my bag I would freeze them at night, and then I would literally sell them during school lunch breaks. But I kind of was too successful because actually the people I sold them to weren't very good at putting the rubbish into the litter bin. And the headmaster wanted to know how on earth, with no shop, there was all this product everywhere. So I kind of got, one of my first bans from like selling at school. But I think that's, I think if you go back to all entrepreneurs, they've done something like that.
So it's kind of that early instinct to want to have an audience and to think about different creative ways of getting a product to them. And I know that you've had a spell when you were young working for Saatchi and Saatchi. And did you think that working in the industry gave you the tools to understand consumers? And when were you ready to strike out on your own? When did you get that feeling that it was time?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helped me. I mean, I'd gone to college. I got thrown out of college. I wasn't a good boy. I didn't do my work, and quite rightly, they threw me out. So I didn't really have any qualifications. I was unemployed for a year and a half, and yeah, I had 150 interviews, and for a year and a half trying to get a job. And one of the most famous guys in advertising, the week before we got a job at Saatchi and Saatchi, he said to me, if you don't get a job in the next week, give me a call. I'm going, what? I mean, like, we were going after interview, but at 21, we arrived at Saatchi's pretty hungry because we'd had a lot of rejection. I think sometimes rejection, when people just say, hey, this is not good enough, this is not good enough. And if you keep working, you go to the point of you get past the point of being average and you get to the point of being really good. But we had such hunger, and we arrived at Saatchi's. I couldn't spell. I didn't know what grammar was. I was reading football magazines. It's only when Claire actually, when I started going out with Claire, I actually saw books. I mean, it was kind of like a low bar. I mean, but I was surrounded by these people who wanted to help me, and they were the best in the world. And so did it help me? I learned that actually the best brands are a story well told, and so when you start a business, you're telling your story, and if you tell it really well, you can do really well. So I definitely learned that, and I mean, I loved it. I mean, I was literally slightly raised by wolves. I mean, at Saatchi's, it was kind of like they didn't at that point know how to fail, and they were just there was a lot of adventure there. But I went to the University of Ideas, and it was a good place to learn, and I took some notes.
That's great. And before Hiut Denim, you started a company with your wife Claire called Howie's in Wales, which I'm sure some people on the call probably know. And you sold to the US firm Timberland in 2011. Were there any lessons from that time that sort of shaped how you approached building Hiut?
Yeah, I mean, mean, in a way, it was like our apprenticeship in terms of running a business. And we'd never really run a business. We'd worked in advertising, which meant we were delivering ideas for other big brands, but no experience of running a business. So we were pretty naive. And actually, the lessons learned from Howie's was actually we should have had the confidence to keep going. And we didn't at the time because we didn't have any experience of running a business. And the business was growing at 350%. And what we should have done was like a year, and it kept growing and kept growing. I'm going, oh my God, this is kind of, and I just thought the answer was to try and grow even faster. And when you grow in a business, you're very vulnerable when you grow. And you need a lot of money to keep feeding the growth. And we just, I should have applied the brakes and by having my foot on the accelerator. But we did something quite interesting, I think, in terms of we didn't really have a marketing budget, but when we went out there and said, look, we want to go and sell the business, we didn't really want to sell the business. We wanted to get some help from some experience. But when we put word out that we were interested in selling, we had Steve Case, who started AOL. And, he offered us $25 to $30 million to go and move the business to California. And we just moved to Cardigan. And Claire's going, like, why would you go to California? And bear in mind, we'd never been to California and we didn't know how hot it is. Maybe make a different decision now. But also we had a company called PPR, who's now called Karen. But they had brands, they're one of the best portfolio builders in the world. And they identified 2 brands in the world they wanted to buy. And one was Quicksilver and one was Howie's. But they own brands called Gucci, Yves Saint Laurent, Puma. And so we'd done something of interest. The Japanese, Japan's richest guy wanted to buy it. Nike came to us afterwards, we sold, and said, why didn't you tell us? We would have bought it. So we'd done something on a very low budget. And that really fascinated me. You go, how do you stand out in a really busy world when probably everyone's got more money than you, but you can? And if anyone's listening to this right now and thinking of starting a business, you have the tools that it's kind of ridiculous how good they are, but your competition is attention.
And it's kind of interesting, this topic about, well, you've mentioned a lot of household name brands that we all kind of recognize. And it's kind of interesting to be positioning in the global fashion industry, because we don't naturally think of the far reaches of Western Wales as a kind of fashion house, but here you are, and I want to just ask, why denim? Why here? And how did you create a demand for Welsh denim?
Well, there was a couple of things happened. So when we sold to Timberland, and it was kind of bittersweet. All we got out of it was money, but we kind of wanted experience and like help, and we got a check. And sometimes, like, especially founders go, oh, I saw my company got some money, and they think that's success. It's kind of not success if you only half finish the mission. And so, so I felt that. And then I felt a bit burnt out for about a year. But the interesting thing is I walked down the steps of Howie's and going, well, I'm never going to go back there again. What am I going to do now? And it was like 27 steps going down, and I'm going, oh, okay. And I said, well, what are we good at? Well, we're good at merino. We do one of the best merinos in the world. But we also did jeans, and I got really geeky on jeans. And so I held those 2 thoughts in my head, and I'm going, okay, what I had to do is wait for something to happen. And that's like this century defining tool called the internet. And because we could make jeans in the town, we had Britain's biggest jeans factory, and it closed. And the amount of skill in this town is incredible. And like there was, they made 35,000 pairs of jeans a week, every week for nearly 40 years. 400 world-class makers suddenly lost their jobs. So we had this talent pool, and we knew how to make a brand all we had to do is wait for this thing called the internet to happen. And because at that point, the business model changes, because we could go direct to our customer, which meant we could afford the more expensive British labor, more expensive fabrics. So it was just an odd thing. Honestly, I don't know why the factory is in the town or was in the town. I don't know what was like the genesis of that, but I'm kind of like going, wow. I mean, it's just like, maybe just somebody just said, hey, I just want to live by the sea and I'm going to make jeans. I'm going, fine. That's literally enough of a reason to do it. So we find ourselves in this town with high skill. And we find ourselves in a time where the internet happened, and suddenly you go, oh, actually, we could go and get 400 people with jobs back, even though it's a ridiculously ambitious thing. And we're 10 years in and we've got 30 jobs back, and you go, Dave, there's no way you're going to get 400 people with jobs back, except, stranger things have happened. And we already have proof that you can get 400 people making jeans in Cardigan because someone's already done it.
And so I think we're going to come on to the internet in just a minute, and how that kind of helps shape this brand. But I want to just kind of go back to the story. And you start with a great story and an idea. I want just to kind of say, is that enough in terms of, obviously you need money behind it. How much money does it take to launch something like this? And where can you invest and where can you save if you're just starting out?
Yeah, I mean, you can't just have the story. I mean, you have to have a great product. We're sort of blessed, Malcolm Gladwell, talks about being a grandmaster at chess, and you have to do 10,000 hours of practice in order to get that good. And the grandmasters in our business, and we call them grandmasters because they've done so much time sewing, but they've been sewing for 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 hours. So they're in the elite makers of jeans in the world. So we have one of the best jeans in the world. We have yet to buy a pair of jeans from anyone that is as well made as ours. So we take it apart and we look at it and you just go, man, it's like, they might be more famous brands, but they just don't know truly how to make a great product. So you have to have a great product. And that's like a fundamental. But then you have to go and tell the story. So how much money do you need? Well, the great thing is now you can go and raise money by this ridiculous way called selling. So you can go and go, hey, I've got this great product. I mean, imagine Kickstarter. I've got this great product. Do you want to buy it? It's going to be ready in a month. And then you go, man, there was weeds. No one wanted it. And I think you can be really agile now. So raising money is, like founders don't like raising money. They spend a lot of time trying to raise money from people they don't like. And so, but you need some kind of fuel in your business, and that is called money, right? So my advice from a shareholder point of view, from like raising money, is find the slowest money you can find. So, hey, this is going to take you 10 years to go and build. Can we discuss, like, when I don't hit the figures, what that conversation is going to look like? Go and do the divorce before you get married. And so, so when I miss a figure and I disappoint you, what are you going to say? I mean, are you going to stop believing at that point? Because this thing is run on belief. And also like the other thing is, important thing is, can you give me advice and not just money? You want that input. And also there's times where it's just so hard. You just want somebody to say, Dave, it's going to be all right. And so you kind of, you want mentors, stroke shareholders, stroke patients. Patient money is really hard. And the faster the money, the quicker the fallout.
I think that's great advice. I love that idea of slow money. I love the idea of bringing people in as they're part of something. They can really then get behind the growth. They can see it. Also, that I think you said, show them the divorce before the marriage.
Yeah,
They get to really understand that there might be times where it's going to be quite hard because this is a slow burn, and we might not get there immediately. We might not get there, even in 5 years. But if we're
yeah, yeah,
thinking 10 years down the line, this is where we want to be. And there might be some, small setbacks and disappointments along the way to get where we want to be. But that brings them in. And again, I think, like you were mentioning, it's growing their confidence. It's having them
yeah,
believe in the story, so that if it doesn't really happen so quickly, they're going to get, they're going to be behind you every step of the way. And
yeah,
hopefully also lending advice as well. I think that it's important as well, I think, to convey, not just you're not doing it in a silo. You want people to come in, share their ideas, their expertise to help you out. I think also sometimes we can be quite guarded, and if we have an idea, and not kind of being open to other perspectives coming in. So
no, and you kind of want them to challenge you and say, come on, but you want to earn their trust, and you want to keep their trust. It's really important. Once they stop trusting you, that's the end of it all. The other thing I think people should be thinking about now, because like it's gonna happen and it's not quite happening as of yet. So the future of all business models is really about community. And how you raise money in 12 months time, 24 months time, it can be very different to how you've done throughout history. And so the cryptocurrency world of tokenomics, and every brand that's going to start in 12 months, 24 months is going to have a token, and that's how you're going to raise money. And there's no proof of it yet because no one's really been doing it. But that's literally how it's all going to happen. And VCs will probably go away, or like the aspect of VC companies will change radically.
that's a great point. I think, and it's not my area of expertise, though I do see that we have an academic whose background is in cryptocurrency on the call. So I'm sure he actually is probably in full agreement with that. And I think I wanted to ask you, you covered a little bit about Denim Graham Masters, and the craftsmanship that you have
Yeah.
behind the product that you're creating. Of course, when we're thinking about these businesses and startups, time is money. So I wanted to kind of ask, you have people who, in your factory, in your production company, that they are working on one piece of material, one gene at a time. So if you're thinking about time is money, does that cause you anxiety, or do you actually think that this handmadeness of the gene is synonymous with quality, and actually you're willing to bank on that's actually the USP of your product?
I mean, I think you have to know which business you're in. And so the reason the old factory closed was it fought the battle of who could be the cheapest. And it turned out it wasn't us, and it was someone else, and it's never going to be us. And so when we started Hiut, I said to the grandmasters, because they were asked to be very fast. That was their job. And so I said, I want you to be really, like, I don't want you to be fast anymore. I want us to make the best jeans we can, not the most jeans we can. And so we had to fight the battle of who could be the best. And so that's the only battle we can win. And so like other businesses are in a time business, but we're in like the high end. We make one of the best jeans in the world business. And that's the only way we're going to win. So quality is more important to us than quantity. But it really depends which business you're in. And some businesses, they can't go and buy the denim that we buy because their margin doesn't allow it. And I know that from experience. People just go, I'd love to work with that mill, but we just can't afford that denim. And I mean, our business model, because it is direct, we don't give like 40%, 50% of our margin to a wholesaler. So we can give that to the product, we can give that to our makers, and also still deliver a great product. I mean, you're not going to buy a pair of Hiuts every week, but you will invest in 1 or 2 a year, and that's fine.
And I think I just want to touch on that point about selling direct to your customers in terms of, rather than setting up a flagship store. How has that decision been for you in terms of what's the challenge with growing a consumer base online?
Well, I mean, the great thing is you can go and tell the world that you exist. And so these tools are available to everybody. So Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, I mean, whichever platform you choose. The problem is you think you're competing with another brand, but really what you're competing with is people's busyness. And so you're in the attention business. And for me, there's 2 factories. One makes jeans and one tells stories. And so it's really important that we go and, stand out in a busy world. And these platforms are getting really ultra competitive. But the great thing is they're really ultra competitive over creativity. So if I say, oh, Facebook isn't working like it used to, which it isn't, the answer is be more creative. And in terms of business metrics, it's like, that's kind of an interesting thing. So if you want to get attention, you have to be more creative. And I kind of like that because it's kind of fair. And it's not like who has the most money, who has the craziest idea. Like, I mean, my daughters show me Instagrams for Jack Moose and this crazy French guy. And I look at his things and I'm just going, oh man, but it's only purple carpet. Okay, he's on a Hawaii beach and he's got a drone, but we could do that. So it's kind of interesting because the world is busy. Everyone's busy. No one, hands up, anyone's here going, oh, I don't get enough email. Yeah. And we're all scrolling. Any spare time? There's so much attention. There's so much stuff, and there's only so much attention. So that's kind of interesting. I'll give you one counterpoint, and this fries my brain. There's a guy, I don't know if you know him, Tyler Brule. He runs Monocle magazine. Really interesting guy. I've always kind of liked him, but he doesn't do Instagram. So he's got Monocle magazine, 85,000 subscribers, but he's built it all on like trying to meet people. And I find that's a really interesting counterpoint because you go, oh, you've got to be on TikTok. You go, you can be on TikTok, but there is still other ways. And that's what I find really interesting. You go, there are many ways to do this. And so, they've definitely made, the social platforms have definitely made the tools easier, but they've made it so easy that everybody can use them. And that is problematic.
Yeah, so I was going to say in terms of, and the growth of social media. So in fact, when you made the decision to go online, it was predating really the social media storm that there is today. And so did you feel that actually then getting into each kind of the TikTok frame, the Instagram frame was helpful? Did you lean on influencers?
Well, no, we didn't really lean on influencers because it wasn't even like a word. It was just, but we kind of, I'll tell you, like, this is how random something can be, right? So we had to send jeans to be washed because there was stretch in this one pair of jeans down to Port Talbot. It's the only place they could wash them. The guy went for lunch for too long and left the jeans in the machine. And so they got all fluffy on the inside, so I couldn't sell them. And I'm like, man, it's like $5,000. And so I'm going, what am I going to do with these? I can't sell them. So then I've started, I'll send them to some really cool people I like. Then so then I'm looking at this guy, I'm going, I wonder what size he is. And I'm literally guessing sizes. And I'm going, right, we'll send him a pair. So 2 years later, didn't hear anything from any of these people we sent stuff to. 2 years later, this lady, nice lady called Nadine's gone, hey, my husband's been wearing these jeans for 2 years. They're hanging in rags now. Is there any way I can buy another pair? World's best chef, Rennie Rossetti. And so you go like, it's kind of really random. And then we said, yeah, we'll send him a pair. And so there's no doubt, like for us, we didn't really use that in terms of, oh, you know, the world's best chef is wearing our jeans, or Arctic Monkeys wearing our jeans, but it's kind of nice when that does happen. But it was kind of nice internally to know that we make jeans for people that we are inspired by.
And I think that's a great story in terms of, you know, you sent them out not expecting what was going to happen, and then that I guess a testament, of course, to the quality in the brand is that they come back and they want more, and
Yeah.
so I think that's quite exciting. And so you touched a little bit about Cardigan, returning to Cardigan Bay, 400 experts, and potentially creating opportunities for them. Is that still the goal for you? Are you still hoping to offer more?
Let me sort of like tell you through the randomness of my brain, trying to work stuff out, because on one level, you go, trying to get 400 people their jobs back, you go, it is possible. It's already been done. So it's no longer impossible. And we're 30 people, but you could argue we've never been closer to 31. And so good job. And there's also compound interest where the real over time is suddenly grows and grows and grows. And so I get that. The other aspect for me is I kind of want to be the lowest impact denim business in the world. And actually, by doing 400, people is the opposite of being the lowest impact denim business in the world. So I have this tension of going, I want to go and get those people their jobs back. The other thing is I kind of want to be the lowest impact business in the world. And so while my brain, because it's kind of small, like is dealing with that tension, is I've sort of settled for this. And that is, why don't we be the most influential 30 people denim business in the world? And I'll give you an example. I wrote a piece of copy and it was boring. It was like one of the most boring pieces of copy I've ever written. It was called The Journey of a Carrot. And it took the journey from Poland all the way to Cardigan. Every left turn, every right turn, every roundabout, every red light. It was literally ridiculous. But that inspired Patagonia to go and do the Footprint Chronicles. And so you can be like, you can think, oh, you're super small and you have no influence in the world. Or you can go, actually, that little piece actually, help them go and do something interesting. And if you go back to Rennie Rossetti, he became the world's best chef, serving 45 people. And so that's where I am going, right, how can we be the most influential 30-person denim brand in the world? Can we take microplastics out of jeans? Can we measure, the water? I see David Lloyd Owen here. I mean, like, literally, it's like, that's the interesting thing for me. And I think your imagination is like sort of like dreams with photos. And I think what I try to say to the team is, like, because it's like hard, right? You're in West Wales, you're kind of not in New York, you're not got a ton of super funding. You go, oh, how can we go and take on the best of the world? You go, well, we're gonna have to use our imagination, because if we actually believe it is possible, then maybe we have a better chance of doing it. And there's a Korean company called B Brand, and it looks at all these amazing companies, and it's done an entire issue on Patagonia. It's done it just picks the best brands in the world. I'm going, literally one day they're going to do one on us. So I've gone to mock up, a magazine with our name on the front, and I've framed it, and it's on the wall, and everybody has to walk past it every day. And all I'm doing is I'm getting their imagination to understand that it is possible that things like that can happen.
I think that's a great, it's inspirational too, to just to
Yeah.
show them what could be possible. And I think also when this is a great segue point, because the brand's ethos is actually do one thing well. And so I need to ask, will you ever expand to include more in the range? You mentioned merino is also a great product from the area. Is there a temptation to do more than one thing well?
I don't, it, human beings are really good at adding complexity to their lives. Do you mean like, and actually I've never really met that many human beings who've made their life simpler. Oh, we should get a second home. Right, we'll have to get a cleaner, and then we'll have to go down and go and see it twice a year, even if we don't want to stay there, just to make sure it's okay. And so we're really good at that, right? And businesses are even better at it. So, and there's enough legs in the world for us to go and get 400 jobs back if we just conquered denim. And I'm okay with that. But there's a Brazilian company, and I don't actually know its name. And what they did was every 25 people that were in the company, the next people would have to go and start another company. And so if you look at, I think there's some vulnerability if you have all your eggs in one basket in terms of, and that's what happened last time was, suddenly, their business changed and 400 people lost their jobs. But if there were, like 20 companies or 25 people all doing their one thing well, that would be interesting, but we would only ever make jeans. And so, but we might help other people go and do other things. And I'm not sure. Do you mean my problem is like kind of like going, if I think about growth, it means like I'm got to go manage more people. I'm going, oh man, that's hard. And so I'm sort of like this reluctant entrepreneur where just going like, yeah, if I grow my business, what does that mean? Whereas most people just go, if I grow my business, they kind of go, again, it's fine. And so I'm sort of like, I'm not 100% sure I should be running a business, because I'm just going, man, like I'm interested in my time. And I'm interested in like having fun. And I go swimming. I went swimming this morning in the sea. It's kind of cold, but my swimming pool is connected to America. And so I think there's that balance of going, well, man, like, that's why I'm really interested in this being of influence, because it doesn't dictate you being massive. So you can be the world's best chef and serve 45 people. I really actually admire that.
I think that that's a really good point, that there could be a temptation to go really big and wide, but that what you're delivering now is quality.
Yeah.
And there's kind of a beauty in just focusing on that and delivering that one thing
Yeah.
perfectly, or as perfect
Yeah.
as you can make it. I wanted to touch upon the company and sustainability. You mentioned that a little bit, and what you're trying to do to lessen environmental impact. Can you share on
Well,
that?
it's kind of interesting because I spoke to Vincent, and he is the chief philosopher at Patagonia, and so he went there 48 years ago as an intern, and he obviously quite likes it, so he's still there. But in terms of, he said, look, we don't even use the word sustainability anymore, because you know what? Everything that we do is extractive. And so, the danger is like the things that people think we do really well don't make it actually that much difference. And I'll give you an example is, taking microplastic out of the gene, I think that's really important. but it's not significant in terms of the impact that we have. And, doing organic cotton is really important to us, because I just think, having so many chemicals on the land is terrible, and we're not looking after soil. Soil is an issue. But actually, the thing that makes the biggest difference for us is we do a no wash club, and we get people not to wash their jeans for 6 months. That actually has the biggest impact of anything we do, because 80% of the impact in terms of the environment is by you and I washing and ironing our jeans. But the customer mostly wants, I've been doing organic cotton. You go, no, actually the biggest impact you can have is by not washing your jeans for 6 months. You save a ton of water, a ton of energy, and it's literally the biggest impact we have. But people kind of skew it in a different way. And that's the problem with sometimes with the greenwash thing. You say you're doing this, but it actually has so much. It's kind of like it's kind of a nice thing to say, but it doesn't actually have some meaningful impact. So, and again, I'm just like going, look, I don't want to bullshit anybody, and I definitely don't want to bullshit our customers. And going, look, we are part of the problem, and so what can we do to lessen our impact? And that's why I'm torn. I kind of want to go and get 400 people jobs back. I literally think we can go and do it, but I'm going, does that actually? Is there some huge tension between that and actually this? And I think there is. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
I think that the no wash club, because I saw that as just part of a recommendation actually for the treatment of the jean, is so interesting, because I think that is a huge sort of mind shift in terms of how we are preserving clothing, how we're using energy in a way that we think is appropriate. And actually what you're suggesting, and what Hiut Denim believes, is actually the jeans are better if you don't wash them.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's kind of interesting for me. It's like we kind of want to outsource our guilt to the company. And you go, so then we blame our brands for not doing the stuff. You go, but we are the polluter. We're the customer. And so that's kind of interesting. And most people don't want to know that. You go, no, I'm fine. I've got an electric car. And I'm going, yeah, how much energy? I mean, I've got an electric car. I look at it and I'm going, oh my God, what does it take to make that? And, so.
And then, of course, there's that question of being in the lane of fast fashion. So, for example, jeans, the trends for jeans change really quickly. So how, are you concerned with staying current, and what do you think are the pitfalls of that market? And do you try to stay out of it?
Yeah, I mean, if you could see me wearing stuff, you kind of know that I'm not that interested in fashion. But here's my take on it: is we're not in high fashion, and actually, I think the more classic you can make something, the longer it's going to last. Because I believe you kind of really discard things with your eyes long before you do with your hands, and so you get bored by something that's in a moment because it dies in that moment. But if you can make something understated, classic, and almost timeless, your ability to survive, what's in fashion, what's out of fashion, is much greater. And I think design has a big play on that, but we're definitely not in that world. And the throwaway culture is kind of, I don't think it has gone away. People say, oh, it's going away, and I'm not sure if it has, but we're not there. And we even do a free repairs for life for our jeans, and right now it's a car crash, because we've got all these people waiting months to repair their jeans, and they're giving us so much like beef, and quite rightly. Do you mean because they're going, well, why should I wait 4 months for repairs? I'm going, yeah, but we only got Paul. And and you're going, and he's going really fast. He's actually going great. So I mean, it's kind of like none of it is perfect, but it's kind of beautiful also. And people just go, oh, I'm not used to waiting. And you go, oh, well, patience is a beautiful thing. And by the way, when you get them back, I mean, it takes us a day to repair some jeans. It takes an hour to make. I mean, if you were actually like an economist, you'd be just going, man, like, just give me a free pair of jeans. It's fine. But the ethos was, we have to get into, like, it feels like repairing is this radical act, and it's not. It's like we used to repair things.
Absolutely. And I think there's also something to be told about the story and the
Yeah,
longevity of that
yeah,
item. And it makes you, I think, also maybe respect the item more. And I
yeah,
was watching a BBC piece on Hiut Denim where actually the grandmasters signed the jeans,
yeah,
and it is like a work of art. You are
yeah,
getting that hand touch. You realize Paul made my jeans,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's a really interesting
And,
kind of change, I think, to
yeah.
actually have that tangible connection. We always ask our participants, what do you wish you'd known then that you know differently now? If you could go back in time when you were setting up, is there anything you would change with Hiut?
Um, I- no, I wouldn't change anything. I kind of, it's the best team I've ever had. I kind of, the only thing I would say to people is, um, stop gunning for the big win, and start playing small bets each day. And I just feel like that thing of just doing, like, if you're going to go and write book, do 30 minutes a day, and just keep doing it. And over time, it literally adds up to this massive thing. And I don't think we have the imagination to understand, like, how much small little bits incrementally add up over time. But everybody's chasing this, oh, I need to go and raise 2 million quid. Go and raise 2 grand. And doing this, like, so that's my ethos of just going, like, small wins each day, repeated relentlessly, is how you're going to win.
I think that's a great piece of advice, actually. It's just don't shoot for the moon immediately. Go kind of bit by bit, and really celebrate those small wins.
Yeah, no.
I wanted to also mention, you're passionate about helping other entrepreneurs and startups, and you started the Do Lectures
Oh yeah,
on your home farm in West Wales, which you call the Ideas Farm.
yeah,
And it was voted one of the top 10 ideas festivals in the world by The Guardian. Some of your Do Lectures have had over 150 million watches.
yeah.
And you've built this incredible community. And what are you particularly proud of it? And what do you continue to hope for the
Well,
Do Lectures and your makers and mavericks?
I think for me, it's like you get a lot out of helping other people. And so I'll get letters or emails from people who've been to the Do and say, hey, do you know what? It's changed my life. And and, I, and actually, that's pretty nice to get those emails and letters. And like, from a teaching perspective, you go meet a student, 5 years down the line, you go, hey, do you know what? That one class changed everything for me, and I just want to thank you. And that's a really beautiful bit of, we're all humans and we're all trying to help each other. And you go, isn't that nice? And you go, oh, what's your goal? They go, I don't know, I thought it might just help you. And if it didn't help you, it's fine. But if it did, great. And actually, so that's been like real amazing nutrition, like, in terms of, you go, wow, I didn't expect that. I didn't I didn't plan for that. There's no business plan around the Do Lectures. Even in the first 5 years, it was a struggle fest. But we kept going. And so, and like 10 years in, I hadn't paid myself. And people just go, oh, like, the tickets are really expensive. Ooh, they should be more expensive. But then a 1.2 billion pound events company came and said, hey, we really want to buy the Do Lectures. We really love it. I'm going, it's not for sale. And so so it's kind of nice. You just go like some things that just shouldn't be sold, and some things that just need to exist, and people go, oh, but what is it? I'm going, what do you want it to be? And I'll give you one last story, and it's kind of funny. We had a sponsorship deal with Virgin Atlantic, so we would upgrade our speakers from premium to upper class, right? And in return, they would send 3 of their best people down to the do lectures. And after 3 years of the agreement, we were up to renew it, and they said, "Hey, we're not going to renew this." I'm going, "Really? Why?" Said, like, all 9 people that we sent have resigned. I don't know what you do to them, but they never came back the same. So that's what it does. It's like when somebody's looking for some direction, a fork in the road, it's kind of that. Do I turn left or do I turn right?
And the Makers and Mavericks event, so it is kind of the same. They kind of descend on the farm, and it's over a couple of days. Is that right?
Yeah, and the interesting thing for this is, given that we've imported so much crap from America, so we haven't really imported some of the best things. And like the thing called Mastermind, which is basically, like a system of fellow entrepreneurs trying to help fellow entrepreneurs. And it just doesn't exist in the UK. And I'm going, so Makers and Mavericks was really an attempt to go, and hey, there's someone in this room who's solved the problem that you're currently facing, and you currently think you have a monopoly on that problem, but someone else has already had it and solved it. And by the way, this is how they did it. So when you start helping each other, it's suddenly the businesses all do better. And I'm not sure who said it, but it's like somebody said, like, it's not enough to go and find the treasure. You have to bring the treasure back for others. And I kind of like that.
We've got some great questions stacking up in the audience. So Angela has asked, well, first, Alan has highlighted a couple of Brazilian companies. Semco, he was wondering if that's—
Oh yeah, it could well be them.
That's them, right? And Angela, she asks, wondered what approach you took towards securing intellectual property, e.g. trademarks, registered design rights. How early a stage did you have to go down that?
I mean, you should always get your trademark. I mean, it's the most solid protection you can get. I mean, I wrote Dyson's brand book for some reason. I don't know, it was kind of ridiculous really, but it's when you go and get a patent, you have to go and tell other people how you did it. And so that's why there's no patent for Coca-Cola, because they'll have to go and tell people what the formula is. So but a trademark's rock solid. And you should always have that in as many countries as you can. Because if you are successful, you can be sure somebody else will try and rip you off. So it's a very cheap way of getting really solid protection.
That's great advice. And so David Lloyd Owen writes, Jesus has strong connections with rural Wales, and traditionally graduates have headed or thought they needed to head to big cities for their careers. What are the pros and cons of running Hiut from rural Wales?
Yeah, I mean, hey, David, there's a couple of things to this. I think people, like especially from West Wales, should go to the cities and go and play with smart people and learn a bunch of stuff. And I'm not that worried about them going away. I'm worried about if they don't want to come back. And so, but the great thing is, we've got a really young team now down in West Wales, but they've all worked for really amazing companies, but they've chosen to come back. And the interesting thing for me is, what used to be, if you wanted to do interesting things, you had to go to the city. And that was the only way to do interesting things. And now you should go, I'm going well, I want to live where I want to live. I want my commute to be 2 minutes on a busy day. And so, but I want to go to work and I want to be doing interesting things. And we surround ourselves with a bunch of people now who are going, we literally want to go and we want to fry Nike's brain. Do you mean like we want to go and do this? We like there's no barriers to, you just got like a blank piece of paper and a brain. And so you go, oh, okay. And on the weekend, I want to have a life. And I kind of don't like, so that's my sort of thing on West Wales. Is it hard to go and find good people? There's a bunch of people who don't want to live in a city right now. And you go, yeah, man, they dream of a commute of 2 minutes.
I think, yeah, don't we all?
Yeah.
So, that's a great, I think, counter argument to that need the hub of ideas has to always sit in the city. You can go, you can have that experience, and then you can take it out and work in other creative ways.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, we just sent 4 people to, South by Southwest. We're sending people to Web3 Summit. We're going to do a cryptocurrency summit in September. I mean, it's really important that you go and like hang out with the crazy ones. I mean, like if you literally want to go and change the world, you have to hang out with people who want to change the world. Like you've got to go and expand the brain and bring it back. So you got to, like for us, the challenge is that you've got to go and get them to leave the bubble. And you're, oh my God, there's a world out there. You go, yeah, they're crazy. Bring that crazy shit back and let's do it.
Bring it back. I like it. That works. Yeah. And I wanted to also touch base on, you mentioned a little bit about working with Claire, working with your wife, and we've got a lot of, alumni entrepreneurs and people who are thinking about maybe starting their own business. And, for them, they might be thinking about starting it with a best friend, with a partner, with a husband or wife. And just with your experience on that, and also because you have the do lectures at home, do you believe in creating, a separation, that work-life balance, how important it is to just say, right, we're containing the do lectures for this amount of time during the year, but the other time is ours?
It's a good point. So, and, like I've been married 28 years, so, definitely wanted to be 29. And I think we've got to the point where when we're at business, we talk about business, and when we're not, we don't. Because otherwise there's no separation and it all sort of merges into one, and it's not easy. And and the interesting thing, I kind of want to go and do this Web3 conference, but I've had to go and speak to Tessa, my youngest daughter, Stella, my eldest daughter, Claire. I've had to get everybody's going, do you mind if I do this? And because the farm is our home, right? So people go, oh, you could do like weddings, you could do this. And I'm going, it's our house. And for 3 days a year, it's fun. But if it was 40 days a year, it would be a chore. And so there's that balance. And like I said before, is like human beings are so good at adding complexity to their lives. And actually what we're really want to be in charge of is our time, if we're really honest. And the time we get stressed is when we have to do things for things that we don't care about enough.
And I also wanted to mention, because you have quite a big, an experiment on your social media today. So it's you've got a denim drop, a product of with a very limited run. So it's your ultimate double black stretch denim, which is arriving today. And it's a limited run of about 500 pairs. And so what is the kind of approach for the exclusivity? How often do you do something like this?
So we live in a world where you can have anything and everything like tomorrow. And so the one thing for us as a small company is we have to go and do something. And then when it's sold out, we move on and we don't repeat it. And so people just go, well, I really missed that last month and I want it this month. You go, yeah, but we kind of moved on. And we are, and we have to be, we have to be that speedboat, and we have to keep moving. And the moment we drop anchor, we're crushed. And so, in the world of plenty, scarcity matters a lot. And scarcity can be time or numbers, and probably a bit of both. So yeah, so we've built the business on short runs by moving very fast. Once it's done, and it's not repeated. And that keeps us interested and interested. And so, and I love selling. I mean, I kind of love finding an amazing fabric, the best in the world, and like from an incredible mill. I mean, like, he's literally obsessed by doing the best denim ever. That's all his quest. And you just go, oh, I can work with him. We go and make this jean with our grandmasters, and we do it once, and then we move on. And the problem is, people get stuck by their own formula, and they keep repeating it until one day it doesn't work, and then it's too late.
I think that's it's kind of an interesting story behind it. It's not just you're trying something out, you've got an exciting product that you want to share with people, but then you also realize, and that's part of also the understanding that you can't sit still and just sit on a kind of one singular product. You're always thinking, you're always inventing, you're always kind of reinventing the story. And so it's a great kind of idea of being able to say, no, we're in motion. This is evolving as we go along. Very lucky, those 500 people that will get this pair, right? Looking forward, hoping that there's a good result on Monday. This has been great. We're almost at the top of the hour. We say the last question we like to ask is, do you have kind of one piece of advice that you like to share, you like to tell others?
I think if you're going to go and start a business, and be ambitious and be all those things, you want to go and do this and do that, but think about this: is being in business is your best chance to help other people grow. And when you start, like for me, one of the turning points in business has been like, I'm sort of like, I don't really want to be a boss of anyone. Like, I'm terrible with my time. I mean, like, I'm just a terrible manager, and it's okay. But when I stopped that thought process and said, I actually want to coach people, and I want to see how good they can be, and I want to see if I can help them get close to it, that becomes a really different way to go and run a business then, because you're going, well, I'm here to try and help these people do the best work they've ever done. And if that means they've got to go and do some learning here and then go and leave, and I'm really interested in that. It's an opportunity to grow people.
That's a great philosophy, and I think a perfect note to end on. Thank you so much for this hour today, David. And I know you're super busy in sort of Hieatt headquarters, so hopefully, sending you lots of luck for today's big kind of denim drop and everything that's going on. And thank you so much for just sharing your insights, sharing your talent and your time, and for being a part of how we built this. Very much looking forward to the next series, and thank you, and do keep in touch.
Pleasure. Okay, take care now. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.